7 months ago, I had a vision of the near future while I was sitting on this very couch. And yeah, I know how that sounds. I'm a practical science guy. I build companies and do crazy software projects, but this really happened and it's changed me. I want to share that vision with you now. It's a short one. It's about 4 minutes long, where I describe what I saw. And then later, over the following weeks and months, I learned what it was all about. So I'll share that interpretation with you too. It explained to me the meaning of life in a language that I could easily understand. A few months ago, I had an intensely vivid vision of eternity and what is to come. It was so intense I felt it in my bones. I felt what eternity is, and it nearly ripped me apart. It also changed my life. This experience stripped away the illusion of what I thought life is. And the vision ended with a choice. But before the vision took me to the choice, it showed me my life, as it would be if I didn't make the choice. It started very simply. I saw a grid that stretched out to infinity. This was going to be my life. I saw one of the grids being filled with a clear white square. This represented a good day, one in which I felt productive, joyful, and connected. I then saw the next grid being filled in, this time with a black square. This was a bad day, one where I had arguments or struggles and pain. It then started to zoom out, and as it did, I saw how my life had periods of good and bad. And as it zoomed out more, I saw my life stretch out before me. I could see days and weeks. Then I could see months and years. I soon was looking at my whole life until this moment, and it showed a constant balance between good and bad. But this balance wasn't peaceful, it was a constant battle. No matter what I did, I couldn't get more good out of this life. I then saw the lives of those closest to me, my family and my friends. I noticed their lives were similar, but not exactly like mine. And despite these differences, I noticed we all had the same struggles. In the vision, I then zoomed out to show me all of humanity's lives, right from the start, and it looked like a black and white fractal. I could see the struggle we have gone throughout all of history. I saw areas of more light, where some of us had moments of peace, and areas of more dark, showing where wars were fought. And in this fractal, I saw how humanity's great minds created systems that they planned would bring utopias. But all those systems failed to even dent this balance between light and dark. The darkness seemed to be a corrupt virus that was embedded in all we did, even embedded in our best intentions. Then I was led to see the future, and my heart was ripped in half as I noticed that the light that was fighting to keep a balance and the darkness at bay would soon be gone. An event would soon take place that once crossed would be the end of hope. The light would soon leave humanity to its choice. As I looked into the distant future, into all eternity, I saw no hope for humanity, no way for humanity to find a way to create its own light. All of those who, like me, have not made a choice will soon be destined to an eternity in this universe without light. And I saw that not even death would save us from this universe. I was then brought back to today. We still have a very short moment in which we can choose, but I saw that we need to make a choice and that the light was about to leave. The light was going back to where it all began. A world before there was darkness. A world before humanity made its first choice. This first choice brought in the darkness because we chose it. Light wanted us to remain in the light, but we made a choice to bring in the darkness. However, I saw that the light had a plan to not immediately let us be overcome by that choice, but to give us a moment of grace, an opportunity to see the depths of what we chose, while the light would work in the background to keep the darkness at bay for a short time. During this short time, we could still choose to come back to the light. But that short time was now coming to an end. I had a choice to make, and only moments to make it before the darkness comes. Since I've had this vision, I've been looking for its deeper meaning. I've been looking for an explanation that would make sense to me, someone who's not an expert in theology. And I found peace with the interpretation that I'd like to now share with you. In this vision, the place where it all started was the Garden of Eden. It's here where God created us to be like Him, to do much of what He loves to do, to take care of creation. But He created us for a whole lot more. God was doing something new with us, something special. He created us because He wanted our company. He wanted us to share in this creation, to walk and work with Him, to continue creating with Him in a perfect universe. This was such an awesome gift He wanted to give us that He had to make sure we understood how amazing a gift it actually was. God didn't want us to blindly follow Him. He wanted us to recognize this gift and to choose to follow Him. He wanted us to understand the full depth of the options available to us, and with that understanding, make an informed choice. That meant God needed to risk it all, to allow us to make poor choices, and even to potentially choose to reject Him and the gift He wanted to give. So God gave us this choice. We could choose the easy path, which was to trust God and remain in this perfect world, or we could choose the hard path, to question God, not to trust that He knows best, and to do things our own way. And if I'm honest, it's a choice I would also have made. It's a choice I continue making even today. Every time I don't follow God's perfect plan for me, every time I feel anger or hold resentment, every time I succumb to fear, lust, or greed, every time I lie or bend the truth just a little. Every day I make choices that brings a little more darkness into this world. And instead of recognizing this, just like Adam, I choose to blame God, trying to make the argument that if God were good and perfect, why would He create a world like this? The reality is, He didn't. We chose to make the world like this. However, despite our rebellion, God had a plan. He would not let us immediately be overrun by the dark choices we make. Instead, for a short time, even though we chose to be removed from God, He would work in the background to keep the darkness at bay, to give us an opportunity to reconsider. When I look back into my own life, I see this in action. So many of my choices in life could easily have ended in tragedy, in pain, suffering, and even death. But instead, I now see God's hand holding back the consequences for a short time. And He's doing this in the hope that I'd come to recognize the gift He is still offering to me, even today. As I look to understand this part of the vision, to understand this period where God was providing us an opportunity to reconsider, I saw three major periods. For about 2,000 years, while God was holding back most of the darkness, we lived blindly in the world we were creating. We struggled as a teenager would, who chose to run away from home, and our pride kept us from recognizing we needed help. We were blind in our rebellion. Then God, despite our continual rebellion, helped us even more. In addition to holding back the darkness, He provided us a blueprint to help us understand what is good and therefore creates light, and what is bad and brings in the darkness. God showed this blueprint to Moses. Moses tried his best to interpret it and write it out for us to follow. But for another 2,000 years, we failed to understand the true meaning of this blueprint. We continually misinterpreted it and chose to do things our way, thinking we knew better. Despite this, God then helped us even more. In addition to providing us this blueprint and holding back the darkness, He sent His only Son to show us how to properly interpret this blueprint, how to live a perfect life, and how to make good choices. But instead, in our pride, we rejected the Son and killed Him. And in so doing, God gave us His greatest gift so far. Despite my continued rebellion, He would offer me a free gift. His Son would take up the consequences of my poor choices. All the darkness God was holding back from my life, His Son would take on His shoulders. All the pain I caused, all the punishment I deserved, all the hate I created, every consequence God saved me from, every bit of darkness God was holding back from my life, His Son would take on my behalf. And all I needed to do was recognize this gift. Recognize I was doing wrong, and I was responsible. If I did this, and came to His Son, asking to be forgiven, His Son would gladly do so. That was all I needed to do. And for the last 2,000 years, God made this gift available to everyone. Yet so many of us are still choosing to rebel. Which brings us to today, just moments before our choice becomes final. In the vision I saw an almost immediate fall into complete darkness. It's the final stage, a period where God shows us what the world would be like if He were not working in the background to keep the darkness at bay. It takes just 7 years for everything humanity was able to accomplish to be destroyed by our corruption and rebellion. All goodness, all light, everything that has ever made life worth living came from God. And now, for all eternity, those that chose to remain in the darkness will be separated from that light in the hell of their own making. However, for those that did recognize this choice, who recognized they could not dig themselves out of the hole they made, and instead chose the free gift to come back to the light, for us, a new universe awaits, one in which we are brought back to where it all began. This time, knowing full well the depth of the gift we have been given. This time, with God, who we chose to be with.